but we don't always take time to appreciate the ideas of mathematics as brilliant and creative ideas generated by human beings over the course of history, beautiful in their own right, or interesting in their own right, as opposed to interesting to solve some problem. Well, this course, whose title is Introduction to Mathematical Reasoning, was created just over a decade ago by the math department to fill a gap in our curriculum, because math majors traditionally take some computational courses at the sophomore level, and somewhere along the line between there and junior senior year they may have to make a transition to courses that aren't just computational but involve more of an emphasis on proofs, concepts, ideas.
Math reasoning is about doing mathematical proofs, thinking about problems in more of or like abstract problems in a way that you can prove them, solve them.
Mathematics, like any subject, has a very rich history. It's a way of thinking about phenomena. What we try to do in this course, though we don't push this liberal arts idea, is give them a more balanced view, a different perspective on what mathematics is than they may have gotten.
I think I'm learning how to express my ideas clearly, and I think that's the best part of the class.
We want an opportunity for students to get a taste for what we would call mathematical reasoning or proof, where the emphasis is not on learning how to do a certain set of procedures, but learning how to understand why certain results are true.
He wants you to get things correct. He wants you to understand why you're doing things.
Well, partly, we're not just asking to solve a problem and write down the correct answer and somehow get, in fact, the correct answer. We're also asking, well, how did you do it? And can you write down an argument for why this is the correct answer? And I think that's an important skill in any area.
Most math comes fairly easily to me. I think it takes a lot of work, but I'm much more willing to put in the work to understand math more than I guess other things, because I know I can do it, because I have in the past. I don't know. I guess I have more confidence in my math abilities than other things, and so when I struggle with math, I can still work through it.
So here's what you have to do in a mathematical problem. You have to figure out what it means, think about how you might approach it, come up with an idea. I mean, it has to start with an idea, and then see if the idea leads you somewhere, and if it doesn't, come up with another idea, maybe talk to people, and eventually come up with an idea that gives you an argument, and then figure out how to communicate that in a written proof.
I really enjoy teachers that get the class involved and like ask them questions and makes it easy for them to ask questions, because I think that's where a lot of the learning comes from.
Yes, the empty set. It's more a range of examples that to my mind should be considered fun, on which we learn how to think about problems and come up with arguments. And that does shade over into other areas besides math. A lot of people like to solve puzzles, crossword puzzles, what's that number thing, Sudoku. And solving them means you have to somehow reason a certain way. So the ability to bring reasoning and argument to things, and the ability to find the words to express your argument, is a very useful ability in general.
He's able to work on what I said was important, the explaining your ideas, but you don't feel like you can't do this week's assignment because you didn't do last week's, if that's the case, or if you don't understand last week's assignment, you won't understand this week's. There's people that do the work to complete the work, and there's people that do the work to like understand.
The general question arises in any class: what's the right pace? Who am I willing to reach out for and keep up, make sure they're keeping up with the material? What do I slow down for? It's kind of a triage issue. Like in medicine, you're saying who's going to make it, who needs immediate help, who can wait for help, and who's already just going to die. It's the same issue. Who doesn't need help for the course? Who, if I do things a little differently or slower, I can, cure, and the medical analogy, but keep going. And who's going to die no matter what I do?
He dropped the last homework because he needed to spend more time explaining things throughout the quarter, so we didn't have enough time, which I think is a better way than pushing through the whole material, because when you push through the whole material, you may lose a lot more than just one assignment, one week's of work.
The grade is what I determine it is. Prior to even thinking of what's the grade is, are they getting it? And what I was seeing in the homework is that they weren't getting certain things, and that there's no point racing along without kind of going back and slowing it down to give them time to absorb the ideas. What I discovered in the midterm was people doing very poorly in homework did very well in the midterm. Some people, so the bottom end in homework did not do well in the midterm. There was a lower middle end, and some of the lower middle people did well on the test. So that's the ones you don't want to lose. I mean, they're showing that with the right effort, the right timing, the right something, they're going to get through this course. And so if slowing it down a bit will keep them in it, I want to do that.
When I was in the lower group, I've been in the lower group before in other classes, I cared what I learned, but I think there's also protection, like something to protect, like your feelings. You don't want to get depressed, and so some people, like me, will give up on something that is too difficult for them, or will take too much learning.
Grades are a funny thing because even though we have to give grades and grades matter, the point isn't the grade, it's the experience, the practice, the ability, the opportunity to do certain kinds of mathematical things.
Learning and getting good grades, I think they correlate quite a bit, because the more effort that you put into a class, the better your grade's going to be and the more you're going to learn. But I don't think they're one and the same. I feel that they're similar, but you can learn without getting a good grade.
There should be time to step aside and say, gee, isn't that kind of neat? Isn't that fun? Isn't that a beautiful idea? As opposed to, we need these tools to solve this problem.